all pretend.
All right, ready to get started?
St. Francisville, so.
Welcome, everybody. It's Cameron Parish Police Jury's morning agenda meeting, Monday, October 7th, 2024. Michael, will lead us in the pledge.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
All right, South Cameron Consolidated Waterworks Tax Proposition, Creole residents.
Good morning. My name is Mary Canick. I'm the Secretary of the Waterworks District 7 in the Creole area. I have Haley Basigalapi with me. She's the Secretary of the Waterworks District 9. I was asked by my juryman, Mark Daigle, to attend the police jury meeting on behalf of the Waterworks District 7 to stress the importance of renewing our tax that support our water system. The past couple of weeks, there have been comments on social media regarding the renewal of tax that support our water systems. Because most comments were negative in nature, led me to reach out to Mr. Daigle. I wanted him to understand the importance of the tax passing, and if he had any questions regarding the renewal, to please ask me now, so we could all be on the same page. Also, Mr. Daigle felt like me coming today was the best way to get information out to our customers. I want to talk about a few topics that have been mentioned. First is the consolidation. Waterworks number 7 has recently consolidated with Waterworks 1 and 9, becoming South Cameron Consolidated Waterworks District 1. By consolidating the 3 water districts, it qualified us for the water sector grant. This grant allowed us to make modifications and improvements addressing the significant deficiencies so that our water systems can get back into compliance with the Louisiana Department of Health. This grant can only be used to make improvements to provide safe drinking water and not for any operational expenses. Presently, there is no tax collected or any income being collected to support South Cameron Consolidated Waterworks District 1. The 3 water systems are still operating as 3 separate entities with 3 separate accounts and financial responsibilities in 3 separate taxing districts. This whole consolidated process has not been easy for all of us. There have been lots of changes and still lots more to figure out. The consolidation has nothing to do with our ad valorem tax. Second, the water rate increase study. This is a study that the Louisiana Department of Health is requiring to make sure all water systems are sustainable at the rates we are charging. The information is based off the age of your system, your water sales, and operational expenses. This is basically so LDH can say, hey, you have no excuse supporting or maintaining your system if you were charging what the rate study suggests. Third is the tax renewal. The proposition on November 5th ballot regarding South Cameron Consolidated Waterworks District 1 only pertains to the taxing district number 7, the Creo customers. It will only be on Creo's ballot. This is not a new tax. This is simply a renewal of tax that is used to operate and maintain Waterworks District 7 only. Having this tax in the past has helped keep our water bills at a reasonable rate for our customers. It would be impossible to operate our system on the current monthly water sales without a large monthly rate increase. Without this tax, we would not be able to maintain our fire hydrants throughout our district, which affect our fire rating and eventually our customers' homeowners' insurance. More importantly, I can't imagine not having fire protection in our district in an emergency. I'm sure Mr. Daigle would agree with me. Back to why I'm here, the comments on social media that could possibly affect our Waterworks District 7. Fortunately, most of the comments on social media were from people who do not vote in our District 7. Unfortunately, the comments do influence our voters in District 7. I want to make it clear, this tax not passing will not affect Cameron or Grand Chenier water rates or fire protection in any way, but would be detrimental to Creo's water district. To the voters in Waterworks District 7, if you have any concerns regarding this renewal, please call me. Don't just assume everything you read on social media is correct. You could be the only one affected by a failed tax. In the end, all three water systems have the same goal, and that's to provide a safe drinking water at a reasonable rate.
I certainly appreciate you coming and clarifying a lot of stuff. I know there's a lot of talk out there and all that. I appreciate you and your board allowing y'all to come and speak on behalf of the jury. I think this is detrimental, and I just want to stress that this is the tax renewal for the Avalon just for Creo area, which it's having to be worded as consolidation because the police jury consolidated the board, but it's up to the people and the voters to consolidate the monies.
Right.
The tax that's coming up is specifically for the annual renewal of the tax Avalon.
Right.
It's nothing to do with consolidating the money or the bank
Nope.
accounts.
Nothing to do. This is strictly to run my Creo's district. So,
And Mr. Tom, would you mind clarifying a little bit why it has to be worded like that to better
Sure,
allow
yes.
people?
So to answer your question directly, and then I'll speak generally, because the jury consolidated those three, being Cameron, Creole, and Grand Chenier, into the consolidated water district, that consolidated district now manages those three special tax districts. So it has to be worded that way, because that's the controlling entity, the controlling body, and that's how it's named legally and statutorily now is the consolidated water district. So that's why it's in there. And the proposition, which is the question or the tax question that will be voted yes or no, it says renewal of, and we have to put that, we've tried, we put in there formerly, the former district known as the Creole district, to try to, again, it's to inform the public what they're voting on. To the best of our ability, we're limited to the number of words we can use. We're limited by the Bond Commission and Secretary of State and what they think ought to be in there and the special words they like to see. So sometimes I'd like to give more explanation, but we're limited. So we did the best we could by saying the district formerly known as ordinance number 7, which is Creole. So that's, you're correct. This is only for the Creole special taxing district, water district, only a renewal, nothing else. It's just unusual, or it looks unusual because we have consolidated the three districts and we have to describe it that way. Generally speaking, this is a good example of what I've tried to educate this board, previous boards, on the idea that you as the jury can consolidate the geography of your districts, but ultimately the public has to decide on the tax. So while this tax, this November, is only for the renewal of the Creole water, at some point in the future, it would be appropriate for that consolidated water board, it would be their decision of when, to ask the public to vote to consolidate those three special districts. Again, the public will decide that, not you, not me. The public, being Cameron, Creole, and Grand Chenier, will decide if they want to consolidate those three current special taxing district into one consolidated taxing district, so to speak. But that's not what's on the ballot this fall. That's to be determined in the future. But ultimately, when we talk about consolidating districts, the police jury may consolidate the geography, but the public ultimately decides the tax issue. That makes sense. All right. Anything else about the Creoles renewal of their water?
The only question I had two questions. One, is this a consolidation tax? The second question is this a consolidation?
No, this is not a
I want the
consolidation.
people to hear, because they're listening, that this has nothing to do with any of that. All this is
No, sir.
Creole's water to remain in service.
That's correct. That's all. This is a renewal of Creole's water tax. That special district of the geography of Creole, as it always has been, that's it. The consolidation issue, it will come in the future at some point when that board decides its timing is right.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Mary.
Yeah, Mary did a great job explaining all that. I'm gonna hang out. I think the next one may be for me.
A revised statute clarification of South Cameron Consolidated Water Works.
I think Mr. Daigle had we wanted me to address some things, and I'll do my best.
Yeah, Mr. President, Mr. Tom, I'm having some issues which we're tracking down a few things, you know, we got in the works, but generally speaking, I'm needing clarification because when it comes to my area, we're having a lot of issues with boards and certain things to that point. And my biggest goal is I don't want to overstep any board because I firmly believe a board is somebody donating their time to better help the parish. So in no way, shape, or form do I ever want a board, as long as I'm going to be a police jury over the Creole area, District 5, to feel like they're not needed nor wanted. So can you clarify a little bit what the statute says? What, as the jury, overstepping boards, can you give me clarification on that?
So, generally speaking, you are the governing body of this parish, and you appoint board members. Some boards serve at your pleasure, meaning you can replace those board members with no reason at all, just because you feel it's time for a change. Some boards have what we call protection. There has to be a reason you replace the board member, and in some instances, you know, there's each board has a state statute that dictates how or when those board members may be replaced. For instance, the library board has protection. They can only be replaced with just cause until their term expires. We know, I think the hospital has similar type, you know, the hospital boards, or this particular hospital board of South Cameron has some protection, has to be just cause. But most of your board members serve at your pleasure. So that's number one. So you can replace board members. And some of you have called me with those questions, and I always have to go to the statute and look because every board's different or particular, so we always go to the state statute and see what that is. So that's number one. You appoint and regulate the board members and who serves. And you're right, they do all serve, they volunteer. They're hardworking, they do their best under the circumstances with the information they're provided, and always better information gives us better decisions. So they do their best. And we, Mary, Katie, are here to help them anytime they need our help. So that's number one. If they ever need us, they call and we're there. So that board manages that district. Whatever board you want to pick, that board is the presiding authority over that district, whether it be a fire board, water board, rec board. They control the policy making. Not all of them have employees like you do, so it becomes a little more difficult. The hospital doesn't have any. South Cameron Hospital District does not have any employees. So, and they technically haven't had employees for many years. They contract with a third party to manage the medical facilities, whether it be a hospital or a clinic or whatever. They just contract through a cooperative endeavor for a third party to hire, manage, do all that. But ultimately, the board makes those decisions. There are, so for instance, and I don't know if there's a particular question, so that's the the boards manage their districts. So for instance, with these ad valorem taxes, every 10 years, generally the districts are funded through ad valorem taxes. Special districts like the Creole Water, every 10 years there's a request to renew that. Some of these boards, you always have to, the bond commission and the Secretary of State is always looking for your approval of so if a board needs to have a renewal, we'll bring a resolution to you to approve that renewal, that it's gonna go on the ballot. You're approving that tax going onto the ballot. In some instances, you have to actually call the election, meaning you have to vote to put it on the ballot. And in some instances, the board can call that election. I haven't quite figured out why that is, because to me, you know, but that's a for instance. Sometimes the board, the bond commission wants to hear that you actually call it. You decide, hey, we're going to put this on the ballot next fall or next spring or whatever. In other instances, the board gets to decide that. You do have to approve what that board does, because again, the bond commission wants to see your approval, but you don't actually decide. So, consolidated water.
Right here.
Was water that they called for elections, was that?
So like for fire, they called the election.
They
For the
called fire.
two that are on the gravity drainage,
And the
that
water.
board did it.
So fire, for instance, for some reason, historically, this is the way it's been done, and I may be getting too technical for y'all, and I haven't figured out why, but y'all call the election for fire districts, meaning you decide that we're gonna put the renewal on the ballot whenever you want it on it. Gravity drainage, they call their own election. So they've decided, in Hackberry, they have a renewal, they decided to put it on the ballot, they did all the resolutions and what we need to do that. We also just put I just call it an approval resolution, where y'all just approve that because the bond commission wants to see that y'all, as the governing authority, agree with that board, what they're doing.
It's a shorter
So some instances you control, in some instances you don't. But for generally speaking, the boards make decisions. So is there particular, or can we get into more particular?
Yeah, I want to be a little more specific. I want to stay, I guess, away from, talking about all the problems and concerns I had on the general boards. Just say that the water board, and doing a lot of research because I got a lot of complaints, because by no means I try to get into day-to-day unless there's a problem or a bunch of complaints, you know. My deal was the Consolidated Water Works. Doing a lot of research, I saw a hiccup, and I wanted to see if there was something, and a lot of the board members and workers and previous board members brought all this to my attention. So in doing so, I was told that even though we're the government authority, we have no say-so. It was the board, in fact, has the say-so, and we cannot overstep them. Is that correct? Or?
That's a fair statement. This board technically cannot dictate to a water board what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
You can make suggestions. You are elected officials representing the public. I'm an elected official. I can express my thoughts and opinions, but ultimately you're not voting and I'm not voting. That board is voting on the decision. So, you know, that's now this is more of a personal position. I think these boards want generally and need our guidance, our help, our assurance, our support. And take the Consolidated Water Board, for instance. The prior jury thought it was a good idea to consolidate those 3 districts to get that $15 million grant. Katie may help me. I think before the police jury voted to consolidate those 3 districts, they wanted the 3 boards' input, Cameron, Creole, and Grand Cheniere's input. They didn't have to have it. They didn't need it, But of course, they asked, and I think ultimately those boards agreed to consolidate. And the jury took action, again, with those boards' approval, although they did not need it to consolidate the geography of those districts. Then once that consolidated board was in place, as most change, when change happens, not everybody agrees with the change. And there continues to be disagreement about that consolidation and that change. And I think the current board, the current Consolidated Water Board, could use our support. Now, because what they usually hear, all your boards, if there's an issue, if there's a public concern, what they hear is the criticism. You all hear. You don't get a thank you. Most of the time you don't get a thank you. You're just doing your job. If you're doing your job well, you're not gonna hear from anybody. But when there's an issue that people disagree, you're gonna hear from the public. And they're gonna let you know that they disagree, or there's gonna be criticism. And that's what these board members hear most of the time, is the criticism. And usually that criticism comes from a small percentage of the public. It's not the silent majority, so to speak. And that's where I think your boards could use support in those times, those tough times, when they've got to make decisions that they believe is right, that they think that the majority of people need or want, or what's best for the long term of your boards, but yet they're getting, bashed on social media and the public about their decision. That's when I think they could use your support. And that's why I say there's your support. That's, again, we're not voting, we're not making that decision, the board is, but they could use our support.
Yes, and
That's just a personal note.
I agree 100% for the simple fact, we're putting these people on the boards. They're just average person, just wants to help and do better.
Exactly.
They need our guidance, reassurance. We need to be able to educate them on certain things that they want to be educated on. I agree 100%. But I don't want to if I wanted them to do what I wanted to do as a juror, because some things across the board, I don't agree with it, but that's why we have a board. So that's why I want to clarify, and the reason why I'm doing so, I need more clarification, because we're going to be talking about the Myriad later, and this will be very helpful and beneficial. So, say the Creole area, it comes to the people wanting to know where the pool went, but we're not going to get into the subject or the topic of the pool.
I will tell you, I have finalized a 2-page report. I've asked Katie to review it. She's given me some feedback. I will probably release it this afternoon or by tomorrow, so you all will have that.
That's perfect. And like I said, I don't really want to get into that, but looking into it and from what I'm aware of, the jury as a whole tore down the pool without any motion from the board, regardless if the board talked about it. Because it sounds like, is there a difference between the Waterworks board and the rec board? Or, I want to stay consistent as long as I'm.
So let's just use the Creole pool for example. And so I'm going to get into my findings and what happened. Ultimately, again, the board decides. So if the board wanted to have a pool or didn't want to have a pool, the board ultimately would decide. In the Creole instance, that was, again, this gets into history. Historically, leases for property where a fire station may be, a pool may be, has been in the name of the police jury, not the board. So the police jury, and I think that was, I'm assuming, I don't know this, I'm assuming that that's historically because of finances. 40, 50 years ago, these boards didn't have maybe an ad valorem tax or money to do the lease. And maybe the police jury wanted to maintain control for, different reasons. So a lot of these acquisitions of these leases are under the name of the police jury as opposed to a board. I know recently Hackberry Water wanted to do something. We've had our ambulance district number 2 post-hurricane have bought properties, and they've acquired it in their own name, the board. And again, we have to go back to the state statute. Does the state statute authorize that entity, that board, to acquire property or contract? Because some boards have certain statutory rights and other boards don't maybe have those rights. So that's always where we start. So in the the Creole Rec issue, that lease where the pool was the lease was with the police jury. 1976 lease, 25-year lease with the police jury. I think it was $1 a year, $10. I mean, it was basically a gift. That lease ended in 2001 with a 25-year option, which would have taken us to 2026. So your pool was on lease, or the rec pool was on lease property until 2026. The hurricane hit, and there was a question for that board to decide, what are we gonna do with the pool? Now, interjected into that decision was the fact that the police jury held the lease, not the rec district board. So there had to be some discussion between the police jury and the board. I don't know if there was, but if had it gone forward, there would have been some discussion about what are we gonna do with this lease, because it's the police jury's lease, not the rec board's lease. I don't think we ever got to that point. But following Hurricane Laura, the rec board was deciding through their meetings what to do with the pool. What do we do? Can we rebuild it? Can we repair it? What's it gonna cost? And all those, I won't get into all the details. But ultimately, in the spring, March and April, so we're 6-8 months post Laura, they're probably meeting in somebody's house because we don't have any place to meet. I'm just assuming that. There were 2 meetings where Katie and Wendy, because I think Wendy, this had to do with insurance and FEMA. What do y'all need? What do we need to put on our schedule? What do y'all want FEMA to pay for? And so that's why I think Wendy and Katie were there, to help the boards, as they did with all the boards, manage their loss and make sure it got recovered either through insurance or FEMA. So at 2 meetings in March and April of 2021, there's a lot of discussion about the pool. There's actually, I think I cited another meeting in November, which was 3 months after the storm, where the board is meeting, just talking about the pool. What do we do with the pool? Can we afford the repairs, this, that, and the other? So ultimately, when Katie and Wendy get involved and say, we need to know what you're gonna do with the pool, not just the pool, but all of your things that are broke or need to be replaced or repaired, the pool was one of them. And there's, without doubt, from listening to the meetings, the rec board, the Creole Rec Board, did not feel like they could afford to fix, maintain, or repair that pool. And that was made clear to Wendy and Katie. And the point of all that is the police jury was putting together a demo package, a contract to let out for bid to demo. I think there was about 7 or 8 items, different buildings, different boards, different buildings on this contract. Contract was ultimately let out to Wilkerson to go in and demo these 6 or 7 buildings or whatnot around the parish for all these different boards. The rec board of Creole wanted their pool demoed, and so they added it. So they wanted it added to the demo list, so it got added, Creole pool. But the problem with that, or the error that was made, I've met with several board members that were board members at the time. I've met with Mrs. Daigle, who was an employee at the time, and the board. It's clear from the meetings, because I can listen to the audio, because I've listened to hours of audios of meetings, as well as talking to them now. They wanted that pool. They didn't want it. The hurricane forced them to make a decision that they could not feasibly maintain that pool, and they wanted it removed, so it was added to the demo package. The mistake that was made, an error, and I have talked to you about this generally, and I've talked to Mary and Katie about educating our boards better, doing a better job of teaching our boards how to do agendas, post agendas, how to have meetings, how to run a meeting, how to have what's a motion, what does it take? What the end result, when you get your minutes, what does it look like? In the case of the rec board, there was not a specific agenda item, there was not a specific motion, therefore not specifically adopted, saying We motioned second to add the pool to the demo. That was not done. That was the mistake. But it wasn't a practical mistake, because the board wanted it gone. There's plenty of discussion about, hey, we're gonna move everything to the south side of the road. Whatever water activity we have, whether it's a pool, splash pad, or something else, we wanna put it on the south side of the road, get off this lease, move everything to the south. So while that board should have had a formal agenda, should have had a formal vote, and that would have tied up those loose ends, and we wouldn't have had to go through this investigation, and would have had minutes that had cited all that. They did not have that. And that was the mistake or error that was made. And look, I've been here 20 years. I should do a better job of helping these boards. But ultimately, that's my recommendation, is that we do a better job of helping train these boards, so that kind of thing. But it was the board's decision. I don't think the police jury could have gone in my opinion, could have gone in and demoed that pool over their objection. So now hypothetically, had the rec board said, no, we want to save our pool, and this police jury, the body that was existing then, said, no, we need to demo it, it's our lease, then we'd have had a problem. And I don't know what the answer would be, because the police jury had the lease, and if the police jury didn't want the pool, but the rec board did, well, then there would be an issue. And I think I could have resolved that one way or the other, but at the end of the day, that was not the point. Everybody agreed that was the proper course forward. It's just procedurally it wasn't done correctly.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. But my thing, I don't think it would be a good practice. As you can see, we coming along with quite a few shortfalls with boards and different things. And I personally feel like it's just we're a close community. We know everybody. Somebody tells you something, you kind of take their word with a grain of salt and try to conduct business. But unfortunately, the way I look at it, if something was to ever come up and we had to go through something legal or anything to that nature, I don't think that would look good had we not had a motion from the board, and just in general. And like I said, a lot of this is just to get these guys a lot more knowledge about it myself, because I don't like being wishy-washy. Either we can do it, we can't do it. Just because I want to do it, I don't want it to be bent that way. But in general, we're probably going to have a lot of discussion on the Mirier, and I think it was crucial. And these was two good examples to kind of, I guess, get a better question.
So ultimately, boards decide their fate. In the instance of the Creole Rec District, had they wanted to keep their pool, at some point they would involve me, because if the jury wanted to get rid of the pool, rec wants to keep it, Tom, help us resolve it. What I would have suggested is, let's go to the property owners, get the police jury off the lease. Rec District, you're on the lease now, let's get a new lease, because if you're gonna make improvements to this property to the tune of whatever it's gonna cost, because they're gonna have to elevate their restrooms and it was gonna cost a lot of money to put it back together in that location. I would have said, hey, you need another 25-year lease. Property owners would have probably given it to them, from what I understand. But the police jury would have said, well, we don't want the pool. That would have been my idea of resolving it, because if the board wanted it, they decide we want to keep our pool. But yet we had that lease with the police jury, so we'd have had to address that issue, and that's what I would have suggested. The police jury, fine, you get off the lease. Rec District, you get a new lease with the property owner. And if you're people and you're public and you have the money to do it, then go do your repairs and improvements and keep it where it is. But we never got to that, because that board clearly felt like they either couldn't afford it or didn't want to continue there and wanted to go again across the street to where the ballparks and pavilions were, for whatever reasons. I mean, again, that's their decision. But there was no conflict in the decision to remove the pool. It just was we didn't check off all the boxes correct.
Yes. And like I said, I didn't want to get too much into all the details or nitty gritty about, what we got going on.
Yeah, it was a good example of a learning experience.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. Like I said, I don't know if any of the other guys got any questions.
What do you think, guys? You got
I don't really have a question, but I will have a statement here, is that, time and time again, I think the cure to all this is unity, right? And leadership, not dictatorship. So, I don't want to say that I'm the poster child, but I am very blessed to have Hackberry, because I'm telling you, we work together a lot. Coming from a board member before I sat as a police chairman, I was a president of the board. And historically, we had a little bit of division between boards, and probably my ultimate goal as a police chairman is unity. We're all in it together, whether it's Hackberry, whether it's Cameron Parish, we're in it together. And that's one thing I think it's our obligation as leaders sitting in front of the parish, is that we need to make sure that we're unified. And Tom's right, it's a silent majority, okay? A lot of times you have people that just want to stir it on social media, but that's okay, as long as the majority is unified and working together for the greater cause. But I think the greatest thing here is, like Tom said, it's educating people, understanding. You can't assume that somebody understands what's going on here, because they don't. We learn something new as jurymen every day. And it's our job to carry that back to our communities and make sure we explain what the facts is. We can take opinions and throw them in the trash. The facts is what's important.
So we have a research tool, it's called Lexis, Westlaws, and other, it's for lawyers to look up the law. Not daily, but almost daily, and sometimes multiple times a day, I'm having to log on to Lexis and look up a statute, look up a case, look up an AG's opinion for guidance. Because life has a way of creating scenarios that you've not ever dealt with, what we as lawyers have not dealt with before. And so that's, I'm always looking for guidance through that system and others, because ultimately the law dictates how, the direction. Sometimes it takes interpretation of the law. Hopefully I get it right, but I look to whatever sources I can find to give me guidance so that I can advise you guys of what that guidance should be, and the boards. So.
And I also want to add, just to the staff and the everyday workers of the police jury, by all means, all these boards, we need to be doing everything we can to help them, educate them, just being on their side. And I just want to regenerate that, because none of this is trying to pull the staff and just saying, oh, yeah, on your own. We're here when they ask to be helpful, we need some help, or if there's something that we may not think they understand, we can reach out to them and help them understand that. It's just, I just want the board to feel like, because at the end of the day, they're voters of the parish. They're not there for a job. They're there for the greater good, and they don't get paid to do that. So we just need to help them, and I guess respect their wishes as a board, unless they're just doing something off the rails, which I don't see that.
We're entitled to our opinion, but ultimately the board decides. And I think it's important as elected officials that we provide that guidance or that support, because we are elected for that purpose, in my opinion. So,
Thank you.
anything else?
Thank you, appreciate it.
I thought you
Mr.
had seen it
President.
all, right?
Sorry?
Said I thought you had seen it all already.
I've seen a lot.
Every day.
Seen a lot, but I have not by any stretch of the imagination.
Move
I've
to the
seen it all.
Murray, is it?
Yeah, well, before we go into the Murray, this is kind of relevant to both. I think it's important, just since we're kind of educating the public and ourselves on when the police jury intervenes and when they don't. Sometimes it is perceived as intervention by the police jury, but I'm going to try to clarify that for everyone. So there are two districts that the police jury, by state statute, actually says the jury is the governing authority. And that's the difference, Mr. Tom, why the police jury has to call the election sometimes and why the other boards can't. And so state law says that the library and the fire districts are not able to conduct business by themselves. You are the governing authority. And until someone changes that law, you have to actually act as the governing authority. Now, you take recommendations from the board, but everything has to come through you for final say, because you're the governing authority. And so why it is sometimes it's perceived as the jury maybe is at odds with one of those boards, it comes down to actual policy and procedures. Because we're the governing authority, we have to do all of their financial statements. So every penny they spend comes through our accounting department. We have to follow legislative auditor guidelines. So this is all state law, and it dictates what we have to report on. Because we're their governing authority, they have to follow our purchasing policies. So there are times that maybe one of these boards want to go buy something or do a project,
And when it comes to us for final approval, we have to make adjustments on how the strategy they utilize. We can't just let them circumvent public bid law because it might be cheaper to do it that way. It might be faster to do it that way. But because they report under us, it would actually cause you as a jury to have a legislative audit finding. And that's not something you want to have. So while the decision's being made at their board level, how the purchases are going to be done and how stuff's going to be acquired, it has to come through you, through your accounting policies and procedures. And I think that's why things get a little messy. And same thing with these other boards. So your drainage boards, your rec boards, and your water boards. Some of them ask us to process their payroll for them. So while those three boards are 100% their own governing authority and can do everything on their own, and there are a few exceptions to that, Hackberry and Johnson Bayou Rec are two of them. They decide they're going to do their own payroll. So they are 100% on their own. But the other rec districts, like your Grand Lake Rec and Water District, your South Cameron area Rec and Water Districts, you process their payroll. And then Johnson Bayou and Hackberry, all of the drainage boards come through the parish. So because we're doing it at for convenience to them, maybe it's going to save them some money because we're doing their payroll. Now those employees have to process payroll according to ours. Because again, you have one financial statement. They take everybody's money that's spent that comes through your office and they put it into that one big 140-page book that Coy gave to y'all last month. So anybody that gets reported on our financial statement, they have to do their payroll and their purchasing the way your policy stated. Now, some of these boards, like your recs and your waters, if they decide that they want to do their own payroll, like Hackberry Rec and Johnson Bayou Rec does, they can do that. They don't need your permission. It's just typically they ask us to do it for them because they get access to our health insurance, and it's a benefit to their employees, and it saves them money on processing payroll and audits because they're sharing the cost with the jury versus having to pay for all of that outside on their own. And so that's why sometimes, even though they're making their own decisions, we have to get in the middle of things. It's because we have to make sure that they're following our policies and procedures. It protects y'all in the long run and make sure you don't have a legislative audit finding.
So while we educate, and I don't want to get too much into detail until Demaria, I guess, gives us a presentation on all that, but I heard say for the fire people, the jury, is it the juries could overstep them or the administrator by herself?
The jury.
Okay. So without a vote, a majority vote from the jury, the administrator can't stop somebody or spend their money, so to speak?
No.
Okay.
The administrator has no authority, just like each individual drawer has no individual authority. Your power comes from a collective group.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think you have a green card up there too.
I have two. I was gonna take.
Can I?
Yes, sir. Go
Object
ahead.
one thing. Just to clarify, every entity in this parish is a sub-entity other than the school board and the sheriff's office. It's a
Right.
sub-entity of the parish. Okay? So whether you want to be in control or not, that's a discussion how we operate our business. We give control to the board. But in the end, if something happens and they get into a legal battle, we'll be drawn into that, okay? Because they are a sub-entity of the parish. We're a sub-entity of the state. So if they drag us in, the state gets dragged in so many words. So just understand that. That's kind of how this all works. It's where they get their authority from, through us, through the state, to the people. That's all I got.
Ms. Susan.
Good morning, Susan Rockout, Clerk of Court. Y'all have some paperwork on your desk in front of you? And there's also some in the back for anyone who wants it. As you might recall, all the clerks of courts have been legislatively mandated to begin recording, filing, serving under a collective process. I really want to thank y'all all for assisting this clerk of court's office for the parish to meet this unfunded mandate.
We went live July 1st in conveyance, mortgage, UCC, civil, and criminal records. And that's due to your foresight. There have been many changes in the public recording process. My deputies are looking forward to helping each one of you. We've been in contact with Miss Mary and Katie on the new processes. The back part where we keep the records are all the same, nothing has changed. But the front part where you give them to us has changed. Do y'all have any questions on that? After looking at your little handout, you can see there's a statewide portal and a parish search and a Lecrae bulletin board and this e-clerks. You get all this for everything that y'all put forth. This is now available to the parish, all the individuals in the parish. E-recording, e-filing, you can apply for your marriage and you can do a criminal search, all from this one website, eclerksla.com. Any questions? Okay, there's a explanation on the back. Okay. On another note, as Chief Elections Officer of the parish, we will have an election on November 5th. Our early voting, the registrar has set it, and the state, from October 18th through October 29th. Y'all have that paperwork also to share with your constituents. You can email them, you have the answer for them. There will be 10 days here at the police jury at the registrar's office for early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. In Grand Lake, there will be 5 days, October 18th through October 23rd. And in Hackberry, at the community center for 1 day, October 25th. And if anyone that you know of wants to go early vote, please let them know about these dates. It's very important. This election is very important. Do y'all have any questions on that? Does anyone? And on the best note ever, Louisiana is second in the nation in election integrity. We should be very proud of that. North Carolina, as you know, had Hurricane Helene, and they are totally destroyed. North Carolina reached out to the Secretary of State and our Commissioner of Elections, Sherry Hatsky, on how to run a presidential election during a disaster. Sherry Hatsky went down there last week and met with the legislative and the bodies that are in charge of the elections. She guided them, and the legislature is meeting this week to change the laws to match what we had to do for all of our disasters to run all these elections under disaster process. That is something that we should, as Louisianans, should be very, very proud of, considering what else is going on in the nation. Any questions?
I don't have,
Somebody asked me something.
We're gonna have to have proof of ID.
Well, of course.
I heard some places don't need that anymore.
We talking Louisiana. We're second in the nation.
If you're dead, they don't.
You, hey, look,
Miss Susan, tell him he should've went to the training I did.
should have gone to the training that he went to and he went to, and his wife. He couldn't go, so he sent his wife. And it is very, tell him about it, Michael. What did you learn?
It's very, very informative. I will say that. I asked a lot of, I guess you'd say, curveball questions with the national questions out there, open borders and such. And
Yep.
She corrected me several times, but I had to ask a few curveball questions. I want to make sure that we didn't have Southerners voting in Louisiana.
It's a very locked down process in Louisiana. Mr. Johnny Wynn also, he learned something too. That he could be a commissioner. If we didn't have any, we would pull him.
Hey, Miss Susan, I do have one clarification. I think I know the answer to it, but I think it'd be good to let the public know. As far as this early voting, a person from Hackberry could come to go to Grand Lake and,
Correct.
you know, vice versa. I think that's an important thing for the voter turnout, to understand that if you want to early vote out of town for whatever reason,
Yes.
you can come to Cameron or go to Grand Lake or, you know, vice versa throughout the parish. So.
That is correct. If you work here in Grand Lake and you're passing through by the library and you don't get home till later, you can vote in Grand Lake. if you're working here in Cameron, you can come here.
There's a nationwide cheer right now with 3 words, but I'm not gonna say that.
Don't
I'll just
say
say vote, vote, vote.
Vote, you're right, we need to vote. Everyone needs to vote. No matter what you vote for, you need to vote. Any questions?
No comments?
After my public meeting.
I said vote, vote, vote.
Vote, that's it. I want y'all to vote, everyone. That's what makes this country great. Any questions? If
And don't
not,
let her find out that you didn't vote.
I'll get on you.
Anything else?
All right, I'm done. If y'all
Thank
don't
you,
have
Ms.
any
Susan.
other questions, I
Thank you,
really
Ms.
want to
Susan.
thank y'all for your foresight and your help. It's making us good.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right,
Miss
thank
Susan,
you.
before you go, I don't have a question, but I got a little statement. I will say, you know, a lot of the people don't realize how much you and your staff and people that's volunteering for voting and all that, y'all put a lot of hours and a lot of work into it, and you know, so I just want to tell you that I'm grateful that y'all part of the parish and y'all do this, and you're very passionate about it.
I am.
And so I just wanted to give you a thank you to you and your staff, because I'm pretty sure it probably gets overlooked from time to time, and people don't really understand the moving parts in it. And that's
Just
something
like
I
y'all,
learned.
when people have problems, that's whenever they notice. But we love what we do, and we want to make this process as open as necessary.
Thank you.
All right,
One
thank y'all.
thing too that I wanted to say is, I guess what I've learned from it, that it's very, people I think get scared when you start talking about them taking these courses and stuff and getting involved. But it's really interesting, and you realize, you know, in this day and time, you don't have a lot of people that take advantage of it, to learn it and to be able to get involved in the elections. And I enjoyed it, I really did.
Well said. And I teach the test. I'm not there to make you fail. Michael knows it, and Mr. Johnny knows it. I'm there to teach you and to help you learn. And in the process, you learn to appreciate what you have.
I really think whether you want to be a commissioner or not, it would pay dividends to go to one of the trainings,
It would.
especially if they have.
It would.
It was very good learning for me.
And I'll give that class anytime, anywhere. It doesn't have to be an election cycle. I will go anywhere and teach anyone. All right? Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Rocco.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Kim?
Good morning.
Morning.
Kim Monte, Cameron Parish Port. I had the opportunity, I've traveled around the parish talking to a lot of our business people, and it's been expressed to me more than once how they have geared up for work coming and then put their money out in their small business to get ready, and then this pause has been a problem in their business. So the opportunity came up 2 weeks ago, or week before last. I went to on the Gulf Coast Energy fly-in to DC. After talking to my board about a lot of these problems that were expressed by the businesses in our parish, I'm grateful that they allowed me and thought it was a good idea to attend this fly-in, and in the process was able to talk to many. We had 2 days worth of meetings all day. We met with FERC, we met with the Department of Transportation, a lot of different issues that happen in our area. It was a good bipartisan group of delegates that we got to talk to, both senators and congressmen. And I think one of the things, talking along the lines we've been talking all morning, one of the things that was expressed to me is that from the senators and the congressmen was that a lot of times we get busy in our working day and these problems are not brought to them. And those are open door policies up there. That's what they're put there for, is to listen to us. And I guess just as a fill-in to y'all and a plug to the public, they really want to hear from us. They want to hear from our parish. They want to hear from our workers. And there are several ways we can do that. You don't have to fly into DC. You can send emails. You can make phone calls. But at the end of the day, they're begging to hear from us. And so I thought I'd just take this opportunity this morning to tell you about my trip, what a good trip it was. how well it was received. I went along with a couple of people from the Gulf Coast Industrial Group that stretched from the tip of Texas all the way around to Florida, and they represent 1,500 companies and over 200,000 workers. And they had a lot to say that, that their workers, they meet monthly, and these industrial people are talking about all the different difficulties with not only LNG pauses, but other things that come about. And so our congressmen and our senators want to hear from us, and I guess I just wanted to share that with y'all this morning, let you know what a good trip it was, how well received our comments were, and encourage all of our people in our parish to have those conversations with them, one way or another. Any questions about the trip?
Did it come up with some process for that to happen? Did they just need to call directly?
Call directly, emails, or make appointments and go in and see them if you want to go to DC.
And I'll just add, I mean, since January, I've talked to quite a few of them, and I think she's kind of sitting in the back row back there, but, Higgins' representatives here several times, but I know Clay's, replied back to me, so has Bill Cassidy quite a bit of times, so Kennedy's been helpful as well, so.
And you don't have to have fancy words and big statistics to talk to them. You can just talk to them. If anybody wants to and doesn't know how to get a hold of them, get a hold of me. I'll be happy to help them do that.
Yeah, they've been very helpful, and it's been as simple as a text message, so.
Mm-hmm. Thank you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott?
Scott, you said the board was high.
All right, Mr. Sonny and Michael, got some information for y'all. So, talking about Homestead, from my president of the association, he says it's somewhere in all of this tax restructuring that is going on. He is pretty sure. Okay? And it takes legislation to get it changed, the homestead from what it is now to something in the near future. The association will be looking into the matter because he's getting asked this same question by many of us assessors because of the values that went up. Our parish was not affected like some of the ones further north. Their values went up literally across the board. And so, but I just wanted to let y'all know that from earlier. I did get some information, and I wanted y'all to know while I had y'all. All right, guys?
Is it statewide, and it has to be statewide?
It's statewide. It's got to be done by legislation.
Well, that's for the law itself, but does the parish have any opportunity to, say, reduce some of that on our own?
I will
Because
find
that revenue that you're assessing is going to the parish.
Going to the
But
parish.
we
I
decide-
agree.
We decide for the people's sake to
Yeah.
not take it. Can we do that? That's what we need to find out. Can
Okay.
we do that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to give you what I found out so far.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys.
You have a
Y'all
question?
have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, I got one little comment, as, so we have a parish employee that, needed some help, and, I ended up in the benefit this weekend, and I was surprised and really, touched at how many of the fellow parish employees participated and, helped this employee out, and, I'd like to say thanks to everybody. It was really heart touching, And the one thing about Cameron Parish, everybody shows up for people in need. Thanks to all the employees and everybody that helped with that. I know he really appreciates it, his family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Murray A. Fire Station, Miss Katie. Mark?
I I know I asked Mr. Tim to come and give us some insight of the Myriad. I know us as jurors done kind of had a couple meetings and talked about certain things and was under certain impressions. If you wouldn't mind, and you'd allow it, Mr. President, I'd like Mr. Tim to come, I guess, fill us in more and see what we could do.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. This is
Order.
a good day to talk about it now that we're in Halloween. Talk about the nightmare of the Myriad. As y'all know, I think we met with some of y'all probably about 6 months ago. We told y'all what our plans were. We discussed it. Katie, Tom was in the room with us. And what we had planned on doing was we had gotten quotes. We explained to y'all. We pretty much did what we said we was going to do. Then a few things got twisted, being that after we went out, accepted the quotes, the settlement that was to get rid of the old contract that was from 2 years ago, that contract should have ended when the project was destroyed by that windstorm. That was a $3 million project, which was never really needed or wanted. All we needed was a place to park our trucks. And that's why we were moving forward with this new, much less expensive, just a place to park the trucks in an existing building. So I really feel that if we sit down and discuss a little further and explain a little bit in depth with Tom, that we can get past this, hopefully, and that we're able to move forward. But when you throw in the settlement into this new project, well, then it goes over the budget. We're in a serious time restraint because our rating is being held up. We done went through our rating, but they will not release it until our building is finished. So here's where we are.
Mr. Tim, what's your last update of what's taking place with this building?
It went to the engineers. We're waiting to hear information back from them. The doors, which we originally thought we would be able to move forward with and get our rating with just putting the doors on, once it was turned over to the higher ups in the rating department, they wanted a letter from the police jury stating that it was finished. So the doors are supposed to be in this week. We're hoping to put those doors up and do our best to have something. The trucks have been parked there for years, since the storm. We're going on 4 years. We're still trying to get the building fixed, but we're able to service and run trucks out of there. We don't have electricity right now. Hopefully, we're able to get something very soon. But we're still able to use it. It's out of the weather, except for the doors not being there, which the doors were there for 2 years. But when they started redoing it, they apparently took the doors off, which they would have left them, but they didn't. So that's kind of where we're at.
So, Mr. Tim, just to kind of give the jury a better understanding, I know I participated at y'all's last meeting. I know a lot of these guys have a lot of questions about it, especially if we're going to be making a decision on something or if we would have to. Can you better elaborate what your plans and your board's plan was for this building?
As we discussed about 6 months ago, what we had decided to move forward with was just putting a roof over the top. And it's some type, and I'm not a roofer, so I can't get into the details of, but it's supposed to cover the top of the roof and seal it completely off. Up there, you have almost a foot of concrete that is the ceiling or what the roof is going to go on. So you have a structure that we're never going to have to worry about, hopefully. And we're just trying to put a roof over it, get the least electricity that we need in there to be able to operate it. A place to park a truck. I mean, that's all we need it for. So, worst case scenario, we don't want to tear down a perfectly good building just to put one of our metal buildings, because we know this one will be there most likely. We're trying to do it as inexpensive as we can, and we thought we'd come up with the right solution, and I still think we did. But we're trying to maneuver through all this to make sure we're on the right track to get what we need.
So, Mr. Tim, I know I asked you to come here because I think we've been going round and round about the Mary So,
The
after we
nightmare on
leave
the
here
Mary A.
today, I hope we could get to a clear understanding and what's what. So, as far as the engineer that's hired right now, did the board hire that or who hired the engineer?
We did.
Y'all didn't?
We found out about it.
Okay. So that's one thing that I want to address, and that was important and valuable. Because from my understanding, if y'all got to do and go through all this bidding and it's going to cost all this money, y'all probably not going to fix the building. Y'all probably going to tear it down because it's going to be probably quite a bit more than y'all wanting to spend from the board. Is that a fair statement?
Well, we're hoping, and the engineer said they can work with us to go by the design which we originally come up with. That's why I still hold out hope that we can get it done for a decent amount. And we still had over a $50,000 cushion before we met the bid threshold.
Yes.
Now, like I said, once that amount for the, what was it? Yeah, the settlement was thrown into that, which to me shouldn't be part of that whatsoever, because that was a completely different project that's no longer in existence. But anyway, that's something that we'll discuss and try to work out.
Okay, so
Oh,
Got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
When we talk about design, you were talking about basically covering the top.
Yes.
I'm familiar with it to a certain extent. The flooring will now be the roof, basically. Are you talking about
Exactly.
adding? Are you talking about
No,
adding?
no attic
additional
whatsoever.
structure? So it's almost like
It's just gonna be a
tar.
flat sealed roof.
You're talking about like tar sealed and just.
It's a little bit something else, a little bit something more than just tar. But, Full Roofing went through the engineering that makes that stuff to make sure it would work.
Weight
And they stated
and
it
stuff
would.
like that.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. That's what I had.
so
We had already approved, to have a roof put on there.
Yes, sir, you did. Well, we discussed it.
Okay. Well, technically, your roof is gonna be nothing more than,
Just to cover.
a drainage.
Correct.
I mean,
And like I said,
why do
up
you
there,
have to go through a major architect to do that?
that's kind of where we're at, but.
The architect is not for the roof. The architect is to do the fire marshal plan review,
Oh, okay.
which is required for
Okay.
the CBO to give a permit. And
Yeah.
that's why Lonnie Harper was hired to do the fire marshal plan review.
And hopefully we're able to keep it isolated to that, where it's egress and ingress and the ability for where the doors are and so forth, and the electrical run.
Yeah.
And not go into a complete
It shouldn't be
engineering
much
program.
problem, cause you really haven't changed the design of the building.
Well, and
And
then
if it was accepted before, it should be,
And that's what we're hoping on. The only difference is there's not gonna be the upper story,
that's even
which,
better.
which makes it, it's not gonna be an occupied facility, it's just gonna be a truck storage building. And that's hopefully what we're able to accomplish.
So Miss Katie, who was gonna be the engineer that put the package together to send it out to public bid?
Lonnie could be that. The first thing we have to do is plan review. And the reason why you need an engineer for the fire marshal plan review is because even though these repairs are gonna be made, it's a commercial building. You have to have an engineer to engineer, to do the plan review and then also to look at the electrical. And that's state law, guys. We're not picking on anybody. You have to have an engineer go in and do the electrical plan as part of your plan review. It has to go to the fire marshal. The fire marshal has to make sure, and I think, is Clayton here? He could probably go through all of the building codes if y'all really want to get into the nitty gritty, but there are just things that you have to pay an engineer to do before you can get a permit. And if we're gonna require every resident in Cameron Parish to go abide by these rules, we at least have to hold ourselves to the same standard, and that's what we're trying to do.
and it's the same with safe and the elevator out. You said.
Yeah, there's an elevator shaft that has to be secured to where, for safety reasons, there's stairwells that have to be secured. I think there's flood vents that now are gonna have to be put in the building that weren't originally required to be in the building because it had. So there's just a little few things that have to be done, and we have to have the engineer and the fire marshal to tell us how to do it. When that comes back, we'll take a look at what his cost estimate is, and that's state law. You have to use their cost estimate when you're deciding if you're gonna go to public bid or not. If it comes in under the 250, we'll have to give that to Tom. The DA has to decide on whether or not it's allowed or not. But this is all just pretty standard state law.
So who hired this company?
We did, I did.
What funds are paying for them?
The police jury funds.
The police jury's gonna.
Well, no, the South Cameron Fire District is gonna pay for it. but we hired.
Earlier you educated me a little bit on it. I don't remember it coming before the jury, and I know it didn't go before the fire board, so we just, I understand we need it in that.
Yeah.
But do you understand the process, or maybe I don't understand it?
No, it's pretty standard. There's some flexibility that the administrator and your treasurer has with your budget. When you pass your annual budget, as long as it falls within a budgeted amount and it's just a general service agreement, we have authority to go and hire engineers to do work for us, especially when it comes to permitting. It's pretty standard basic services. The cost estimate's supposed to be less than $10,000. Lonnie Harper was the original designer of Murray Fire Station, so he already has all the information. It's gonna save time and it's gonna save money than if we went and hired in a different one. But because we thought, and according to Mr. Tim, that we needed this done ASAP so we can get our PIL ratings, I had no issue with issuing a PO to get the Lonnie Harper in here to do this as expedient as possible. Again, I'm sorry that I didn't bring it to you, but I thought this was an urgent in nature, and I have authority within an existing budget to make those type of decisions on behalf of you.
So,
But we can pause it. Like I said, I told Mr. Tim, I even went to their board meeting, and I said, if y'all don't want to do this, y'all just tell me now. We'll pause it, and we'll wait 30 days and bring it to you guys. It's up to y'all.
And it is something we do need to move forward with, and yeah, it was done right.
Yeah, and just like the doors. We went ahead
As soon as we're able to get it done, and we're still waiting on more information back, but I'm not sure how long they're gonna hold it before they rate us, or rate us without Murray being there, which is gonna be detrimental to the people who live over 7 miles from the Murray Fire Station, as well as it'll also have an impact overall on the parish by that station not being there. So we're working with our backs against the wall, trying to get all this done in a month or two period of time. I don't know if it's possible, but hopefully we're able to reach it.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
correct me if I'm wrong, like Mr. Johnny was saying, we've met about this before.
Yes, sir.
And I thought we pretty much empowered them to move forward, to see what it was gonna cost, what it was gonna take. And if we're following, I don't understand what the question is, as far as,
I guess they're mad that I hired Lonnie Harper.
Well, I
on
guess
their
my
behalf.
point of it is, I gotta go in between the administration and the boards. Case in point is simple. Why are we not better educating the boards of what we're doing with their money that they're supposed to be there to oversee? Just like in Cameron, there's a generator that the board's paying money for, that we hired people, they don't know about it. They don't know what's been done, how much has been spent, nothing to that nature. So I just wanna stress, we need to be more, I guess, communicated.
Mr.
between
Mark,
people.
no, I sent an email, I think, to all of the board members, and I CC'd you on it when I told them, look, we have to hire an engineer. I know it's urgent, we're hiring Lonnie Harper. That was the notice that went to them. I didn't wanna wait on a police jury meeting. I certainly can, if you don't want, when you pass your annual budget coming up, if y'all wanna tell me and Kayla not to spend a penny without it coming to you, we can certainly do that. But it has to wait till police jury meetings to vote on every single thing. But that's why you pass an annual budget. Normal, routine things, you give your chief administrative official and your chief financial officer authority to make those decisions for you within their discretion.
And-
And I just would like to be clear, we are doing our best to help everyone, but also protect them. We have to protect them from breaking the law because they will be fined personally for breaking the law. We have to protect everyone from doing anything unethical because not only is the jury in trouble, you personally can be fined if you do something unethical. So everything we do is to protect you and protect the parish and protect these board members.
So my thing is, we, the jury, basically gave authority to go see what it's gonna cost, what it's gonna do. The board's wishes was to, if it wasn't, they were trying to keep the cost low because they don't wanna spend a bunch of money. I've been attending some board meetings. Well, it come down to the point to where it might be public bid law. We're hiring people doing stuff, but the board, I don't wanna speak for them, but my impression of the board, they feel like they're about to spend a lot of money on a building that they might not wanna spend that much money on. So it's just more communication.
Well, I'd like to go back to the
Let me interject some context to, I think, even why Tim's before you today. So you're right, Mr. Sonny, y'all decided that with that fire board's recommendation, they were not gonna put a second floor back in there, minimize what they needed, go forward with that minimized repair. That was what y'all decided in general. And that's what they've done. What Tim and the board, they've gotten some bid estimates of what they want done to the tune of about $180,000, give or take, okay? So that's what it's gonna cost. That's the subcontractors, and there's multiple, there's 2, 3, or 4 subs that they've gotten bids from to make the repairs that they think are appropriate, 180 about. 250,000 is the threshold of you gotta let out to bid. They're gonna do estimates and requests for proposals and you know, that kind of thing, and make decisions without a sealed bid public. And if they're under 250, they can do that. Where we got a little bit of one of these, I've seen it all, this is something new. So that building was under contract with Palma Construction to build it back to bigger and better like it was before, where the water board was using the second floor and all this and another. A storm, just a normal storm came through, did some damage to the building, knocked down an existing wall. We got into a problem with Palma Construction about what we're gonna do with that building going forward. Who was responsible for the damage, that secondary damage, and all that stuff that we settled for $77,000 and some change a few months ago. That contract is canceled. We paid Palma what we owed them for whatever work they had done, although that work may have been useless to us. It was work that they had done under the contract. So, where does that set? So the question becomes, they've got a $180,000 repair estimate. $180,000, $187,000. What about the 77 that we just paid for Palma for that project, or project, building, whatever you want to call it? So Kayla raised a question, your treasurer, that, hey, wait, for that building, we already have $77,000 of cost. And if you add the $180,000, that puts you at that $250,000 threshold. It probably needs to go to public bid. So they call me. And the question is, does the $77,000 get included with the 180? And in my opinion, it should, and it does, because it is the same building. There's no clear answer. You have to interpret the law, come with the best decision. It's always safer to fall on the side of caution, because if we're wrong, auditors come in and we get dinged. We haven't followed the public bid law. The problem that the fire board has, is they think that's a different, quote, project. That's somewhat true. That project ended because we terminated that contract, but it's the same building. And what I've had to do is use an analogy. In the law, we do that a lot. It's clear in the public bid law that you cannot take a project or a building, call it what you will, and piecemeal that project in order to get under the public bid law. So if we were gonna build this building today, I can't hire a foundation guy and come in and do all the concrete work. And, well, this would not be a good example. But I can't hire a contract guy for under $250,000 just to do the concrete work on my building. I've come in under $250 so I can hire who I want. And then go hire a carpenter or metal building guy to build the metal building on top of the concrete work and get it in for under $250, and then hire the electrician for, you can't piecemeal a project or a building. That's clear. So in my opinion, you can't piecemeal this building or this project by saying we're gonna eliminate the $77,000 in the repair cost of this building, because it was used towards the repairs of this building. Now, I could be wrong. So Tim tells me that they've talked to the legislative auditor, and the auditor says you don't have to include it, or somebody has. I said, well, I get an email from the legislative auditor saying I don't have to include that $77,000, they can go build the building. If y'all agree that they have done their legwork, done their homework, and that $180,000 is an accurate reflection of what it's gonna cost to put it back together. Now I'm gonna ask Mr. Thomas or your permit department to make sure, because that's what they do. Because we all, if you built a home or repaired after, if you're not a builder, you're not a contractor, you're not an architect engineer, and you're trying to estimate what it's gonna cost to repair, I've done it several times and I miss things. And the last thing we want is to go in with $187,000 worth of estimated repairs, and we've missed $50,000 or $60,000 worth of repairs. If we don't have to add that $77,000, and we're at $187,000 repairs, and the permit department says you've got everything covered, you're not missing a sub, you're not missing this or that, and that's a true estimate based on the opinion of experts, then that's fine. They can go do their job. But that's what the dilemma is. One, is the $77,000 included? As of right now, I think it should be. Auditor can tell me the difference, because that's who we answer to. And then if we get past that question, have they, and I haven't gotten to that. That's between the permit department, Mr. Randy, the board, as to whether they have checked off all the boxes for all the subs they need to put that thing back together.
Mr. Tom, is that per calendar year to 250,000?
No, it's per project, per
project.
building. And again, project building, if you're building a building or repairing a building, it's per building, not calendar year. You can't piecemeal, you can't, hey, we're gonna go do the roof.
So we have a few out like this that we're gonna be dealing with.
Yeah, if that building has to be rebuilt, repaired, and if it gets close to the 250 threshold, the auditors and the laws, don't put it out for public bid.
And I appreciate you touching on all the legality, Mr. Tom. For me, it's more or less, you know, they get with you, Katie get with you, the board or Mr. Tim will call me on issues, and Katie gets issues. For me today, this is to allow all parties in the same room that, you know, y'all sound like y'all on the same pages, but when
we are, Mark, there's emails gone back and forth,
Yeah.
and ultimately I said, hey, I think the 77 needs to be included. Tim disagrees, hey, and that's where we land. That, it's simple as that.
Yep.
And if the board, or Katie or whomever.
And I told the board that when I attended their meeting last week. They had no questions, they had no issues, and we also talked about the generator. And I told them, I said, look, there's a transition period. Mr. Tim hasn't always been the fire chief for Cameron, and this consolidated board hasn't always been the full board members. The old Cameron Main Fire Station has a generator on it that has always been maintained because Cameron Fire Board wanted our facility maintenance people to maintain it. It's always been on our schedule that needed to be maintained. So we did fix the generator. We hired someone to do it. Now, if the board decides they don't want that to be on our asset list and they want to move it and they want to take care of their generators in-house and hire their own mechanic, they have the authority to do that. And I told the board that at their meeting. All they have to do is give us a letter that says, please do not service this list of generators or this list of elevators anymore. We have it covered. That's all we need to put in our file to show our legislative order that's how that's gonna work. I told the board that last week when I went to their meeting. And so, they just need to tell us, you're right, we need to communicate, but we don't know what they want us to do if they don't call us. If the board has an issue, they need to call us, but it doesn't seem like they're calling us with issues, they're calling you with issues, and it just causes too much chaos.
Yeah.
They would just call us, we'd be happy to help them and
I
explain
know
to
I
them
spoke
what's
with
going
Miss
on.
Kayla, she wants one person, you know, not 4 or
That's
5.
what the secretary's for, yes.
I attended the same meeting you did last week, or yeah, it was last week. I got there late. When I left that meeting, I think they're supposed to be drawing up a resolution or something, you know.
That's all we need, yeah.
I don't think they're too happy on both sides. All what I'm trying to do, because by no means do I want to be on the board's job worrying about the Marriott. You know, it comes to us as a jury, you know, hey, it is what it is. But in general, to me, that board's there for a reason. Our staff's here for a reason. But the problem I'm having, and which I know you're well aware of on a couple boards, is every time I turn around, there's lack of communication, maybe lack of education. And if we get anything done today, I just want to be able to have everything function as it should, because to me, this is just another building's getting built, one of many we built in the parish. So that's my goal out of all this, you know, just to clear the air. I'll be the bad guy, put you in the room and ask the questions, but, you know, 'cause I done talked to you many a time.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to be the bad guy though, Mark, because I was at that meeting and it was all smiles, no questions asked, everyone was happy, and as soon as I leave, then I find out that there's problems. They just need to communicate with me as much as we need to all communicate together.
Absolutely.
If there's issues, everyone has my cell phone number.
Yep, and I agree with that, but that's why I just want everybody, and like I said, sometimes I'll be the bad guy. We talked about this a number of times. I call you all the time on it,
Right.
same way. I talk to the board and them. It's just, you know, everything stays at each other's throat on this project. I don't know where's the stone we keep tripping and
let's
falling
go
on.
back. Our biggest problem was kind of like y'all. We thought it was settled 6 months ago. We did what we said we was gonna do. It didn't work. We're back again. So, it's frustrating. It's been 4 years. We're still trying to get a station. Seems like, and it's not necessarily certain people's fault. We keep getting curveballs thrown at us.
Yes.
And so we try to work through it, and yes, we get frustrated because it's been 4 years. There's no excuse, but yet here we are.
Yes.
And like I said, we met with y'all, we thought it was all resolved, yet it's not.
I guess, you know, maybe I just have a difference of perception difference than you of what's transpired, you know. I think you did everything that you said you were gonna do, and we've done everything that we've committed to doing. You got the quotes, you gave it to us. We're doing what we're supposed to do with your quotes and doing our due diligence to get it permitted. Unfortunately, I wish we could carve Cameron Parish out of state law and have our own laws, but we have to follow the state law. You fulfilled it, and we're fulfilling our duty. And I just think it's important to again reiterate the fact that we are here to protect you, and we're here to protect you. And if we say that we have to do something different, or if it seems like we're putting up a roadblock, it's not because we're questioning your authority. It's not because we think it's a bad idea. It's not even that we think we disagree. It's because there's a state law telling us how we have to approach things, and it's our job to make sure we keep everyone here out of trouble. And maybe that does make people unhappy sometimes, you know, but we wouldn't be doing our job if we let everyone just break the law, and then when y'all are sitting with a hefty fine, y'all are mad at us if we let y'all do it. I don't think that's serving the people in the best
Maybe I
interest of the
appreciate
people.
you. Pink looks better on me than orange. I don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, we're here to serve. We don't have opinions, guys. We're here to serve at the pleasure of the jury and the board to the extent legally allowed.
I
And
guess the
sometimes-
biggest thing, and like I said, I'm just going off of what I interpreted off of the many phone calls back and forth, Cause at the end of the day, I didn't wanna bring this to this meeting or do anything this, but it needs to be done, the areas need to be cleared. The biggest thing is before you would have hired somebody, I feel like they should have got an answer from Mr. Tom, you know, if they wanted him to go to the AG's office. And maybe a little more education where they felt like that, hey, okay, we gotta do this, no problem, let's do it. So it's just lack of communication, maybe a short trips falls, I don't know.
Also, did y'all have to get something from the legislative auditor that, remember we discussed it with?
Oh, they'll never put anything in
It's only
writing.
an opinion, they will not do
Not do an
right.
opinion.
Miss
They will
Miss
never-
Katie.
But they did give an opinion.
Mr.
What was their
DuPont.
verbal,
Their opinion was, so first, I talked to two different people, and basically, the first one said, that 77,000 would go, because it's per building, it's not the project, it's per building. I asked for something in writing, so she sent me to her legal. And her legal just basically said she wouldn't really give me, she said, you got your opinion, I will not put nothing in writing, but whatever you and your legal decides goes, which is Tom, so.
And their opinion was?
Their opinion was it goes. The opinion was that it goes towards the
So-
building, but when I asked for something in writing, she had to send me to her legal advice, the legal. And the legal would not put nothing in writing. She said, we do not do that, we
And
just
it-
give opinion.
I know talking.
In my response to all of this, I said, if you don't like what I have to say, because it is just an opinion based on interpretation, we can go to the Attorney General for an opinion about the public bid law, which I'm working on for your cleanup of Black Lake when it comes time. And I had a conversation a week ago about the AG assistant that's on that, about some clarification. So, I mean, the point is that we can ask them, the AG for an opinion, might take a month or two. But again, I don't always say I have the final and right answer. I do my best, but under these circumstances, where I'm sitting here today, it seemed to me that you would include that, but I can ask the AG.
But the legal did say she didn't think it would go against the building, but you do go by the opinion of the advisor.
Yes.
So that's where I think the misunderstanding come in, because the legal did say she didn't think it would, but the opinion, the lady I talked to did say it did. So it was kind of like a win-win thing, and then she just said, leave it up to your legal to make the decision.
And that's the decision that we made that day, was we are gonna fill out a requisition, whatever the decision is made by the board, and we're gonna ask Mr. Tom to sign the requisition, so that documents to the legislative auditor that we had legal approval, whichever way we proceed, we had legal guidance, we got our legal's approval on it, so.
So now I think y'all understand why we call it Nightmare on Murier Lane.
And, I'm not sure if I have the breakdown of that bid, but would one of y'all please forward it to the jury?
Yes.
Email?
Yes, like the estimates that they got?
Yes. Is it broke down?
Yes.
It's itemized or?
Yes.
So, hey, it's my turn. Okay, the buildings you put up in Little Chenier and Grand Chenier, would that be in your budget with the 70-something thousand?
Well, I don't know how the tearing down goes. I don't know what's gonna be, yeah.
I
We're
thought
thinking
the
of-
tearing down FEMA would do it.
Well, if FEMA does it, then we don't have a slab, a perfectly good slab that's down there.
Well, you got perfectly good walls, and look at the trouble we having. You're on a timeline now, so forget about all that.
We
So-
kinda given that up.
So what would would they come in and tear the building, the slab? We back to dirt, we can build one of them buildings like in Little Chenier and Grand Chenier?
Don't have a problem.
And we'd be in our timeline to save the fire rating, right? Can we do that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long that process will take them, because then you have to,
You'd have to bid out the demo, and that would take about at least 45 days of bidding to bid out the
and
demo.
that's just to tear it down.
What,
So either way, we're kind of up against the wall.
what does the board want?
The board wants it done the quickest way and less expensive way that it could be done.
Which way is that?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We have to wait for the fire marshal plan.
Right now, it was to do as we discussed 6 months ago. Well, then we got another curveball with a different equation. We never knew about the settlement coming into play to this when we all discussed it with y'all.
So would FEMA tear it down for free? I thought we discussed that.
90%,
90%?
funded at 90%.
Okay, so if it's $100,000 tear, they pay 90,000.
And for some reason, when FEMA pays it down, they don't need the slab. If they left the slab, it would be a quick go. But,
Well, I mean, you're in a timeline now, so,
and see,
and you're in a numbers game too, that it don't look like it's gonna be in your favor if you know, you do it the way you want to do it.
And the board has no problems if it's gonna go into something crazy, tearing down the place and just putting one of those.
What did one of them buildings cost, Mr. DuPont? You built two of them, right? One in Lucineer?
The larger
17,000.
ones were,
Sir?
What-
$17,588 roundabout.
Just to build a
Just to
building?
build it. And the concrete
Okay.
slabs were sitting.
What was the total cost? Ready to go?
you're looking probably around I think it's around 100.
Right above 100.
Yeah.
So Caleb,
Yeah, it's, I think it's right,
The smaller.
right around
The
100.
building-
What size do you need there? The smaller one would be adequate?
Yeah,
So what's a small one cost you? 100 grand?
less than 100.
Okay, let's just figure 100, and I
It's
don't
the
think it'd
engineered
take
slab.
100,000 to tear that thing down, so you might pay 10,000 to tear it down.
The question being, how long is it gonna take to bid it out? How long is it gonna take to tear it down? Are we quicker going?
Well, look at where we at now. You don't have no time frame on what we're dealing with right now.
That's why we're trying to get a couple things clear.
So what's the definition of a fire station? I mean, can you get one of those little carports anchored to the ground, put fire station on the side of it?
No.
It has to be, and that's why we call them basically a truck storage building. But for PIL to recognize them, they have to be able to be heated
You can heat
and
it.
maintained above 32 degrees.
I got a question. What is it that the board is requesting the jury to do?
What we're requesting is basically, we're gonna have to first find out. Now that it's kind of a little bit more clear. But the first step is to find out whether it's actually an opinion stating that if that 7,000 comes into play, if it don't, we should be able to move forward.
And that's in play, right?
Well, I thought we got that. Nobody's
I can
certain with
I
it,
can
so.
ask the AG to give us an opinion and expedite it because of this fire rating thing, and maybe we can get something quicker than normal, so if that's y'all's pleasure, I think that's the $1 million question. Do we or do we not add the $77,000 in there?
Right.
My opinion, we should, out of abundance of caution and analogy, so forth of what I've said, but if you want me to get AG opinion and expedite it, I'd be happy to do it. I think that's.
Our deal is we want to support the board in their decision. If that's their decision going forward, I'd say do it.
And that would be, to me, right now, on the table, that's the quickest route. Otherwise, secondary, if rebuilding a new station, you know, we just don't know what the numbers are. As far as tearing down, then we'll have that cost. How long is it gonna put it out to the future with us not having a station?
Seems like a waste of money.
We got something tangible that we're parking trucks in there. Yeah, and we was able to park the trucks since the storm, like I said, the only bad thing is they took the doors off. And now we're stuck out the doors.
Miss Katie, did Lonnie give you an estimate on what he's doing?
he's already met with the board, and I think he's meeting with Randy today at 11 to discuss everything, make sure that all the codes are addressed in his plan review, and he's gonna submit it to the fire marshal. He should be able to this week, and we can get that expedited review, and we get that back on exactly what they're gonna require as far as the egress and the stairs and the elevator shafts and all that. I think there's a generator platform up there that needs to be access restricted. There's just a few things that we need to clarify with fire marshal, but other than that, once we get that fire marshal plan review and Lonnie can tell us if he thinks the estimates are a good cost estimate, and they're reliable numbers, then we'll be ready to give it back to the jury, to the board.
And that's kind of, everything's in the works.
Everything's waiting on the fire marshal plan review. Yeah.
What does he charge, he charge a percentage of the project? Is that normally how he does it?
Not for the fire marshal interview, no, it's just
Okay,
gonna be a
just
flat
set-
fee.
Okay.
He's just doing like a time and material, but it should not take as long because he already has everything on his server. So it should be easy for him to do the fire marshal plan review. He did the original one, so he should already have it all pre-populated. He's just gotta.
So, Mr. Tim, does the board have a plan B if this don't pan out or the numbers don't look right?
Worst case scenario, like you said, tear it down and put a little station there.
Okay, and,
Which is gonna take probably longer.
cause,
But at least
cause there,
it's a feasible way to go, it's just not a quick way to go.
yeah, 'cause since I've been in here since January, every month, we hear about this fire station, it's time consuming.
I agree.
And every time I turn around, we hit a curveball or a hiccup, so,
You're exactly right.
can you would make sure and address the board? And, you know, the staff is gonna be here to do whatever we can, but we
Well,
need to be a lot
as y'all
clearer.
remember, in the beginning, it wasn't ours to decide, it was supposed to be the water works.
Yeah,
And, you know, we
yeah,
inherited it, so now we're trying to move past it. All we need, like I said, is a place to park the truck.
yes.
And that's what we want. So, it just keeps changing, we keep moving along with it, but it just keeps changing as to where we're going.
Yes, it's getting to a point in time where,
It's frustrating.
yeah, it's time
Very
to
frustrating.
get the end of it, the goal, and execute it. So hopefully the board and the staff and us as jurors, whatever we need to do, you know, we're here to get it done, so.
So please send us that bid broke down so we can, everybody can make sure they got a eye on it.
Mr. Dupont, how much money do you have to play with? It,
We have plenty of money.
cause
We,
if I'm right, at 180 and 77, you're about 257 right now,
for,
right? You're over the, right, you're over the bid law?
You're talking about a 77 growth.
Yeah, we'll figure that in, because nobody can give a definite answer unless he gets one
Correct.
pretty quick.
But if the legal opinion comes back from, he said he would send it in, that comes back, then we're way down to, what was it, 187 or something? And we have over $50,000 of discretionary funds to use before we get there.
So Lonnie will be involved, is an architect gonna be involved?
Lonnie is the architect.
Okay, he's, okay.
And once we get more information back from him, because we don't know what his information is yet, we're able to make decisions to move
Well,
forward.
I mean, from my experience, if you're gonna get all involved, you're gonna be over your
Well,
250. So just figure that right now and go on with it, if you got plenty of money.
I'm still holding out hope we can do it the right way.
Time is not in your favor.
I know it's not.
I'm being honest with you, sir.
No,
Okay.
but I'm hoping if he's coming today to give that, then I can hopefully.
So today you might have a better understanding.
So just to say, it sounds like you're pretty definite, you're hoping it's on the lower end. If it's on the higher end, is y'all's plans just to go forward with it, or?
Depending on the price. You know, if it's not some crazy price, and that's the quickest route, yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
appreciate you.
At least we know where we at.
Yes.
Thank you. Any, agenda review?
Want me to start?
Yes, sir.
All right, B, Icon Environmental. What's that about?
You was out last meeting.
Huh?
You out?
Hey, before we go any further, so we don't have to come back on this Muir thing. So if a project, whatever the project building may be, comes in under 250, whatever it's 100,000. We, as a matter of practice, probably because of FEMA, have always required 3 bids, whether you're buying a generator, a lawnmower, a truck, or repairing something. And recently, we've had some things come up where I've talked to Katie about making that a policy. Technically, it's not right now. You know, again, it's practice, not a written policy of yours, but, so they're not, well, my understanding is Tim and Logan have only gotten, they got a bid from Pool Roof and they got a bid from an electrician, a bid. do you think that it's appropriate for them to get multiple bids from multiple subs? If, in case we can do that, in case the auditor, the AG, or somebody says we may proceed without the 77, so we come under the 250 threshold, do you want them getting multiple? Because I don't want to, you know, again, I'm trying to anticipate the what ifs. So do you want them to get multiple roofing, multiple electrical, multiple plumbing, multiple whatever, as opposed to just one?
I personally don't want to see a change in our policy in the sense that if suppose we go out for bid, we advertise everything, we get one bid. So then we gotta wait another month to get 2 more bids, or go out there and solicit bids.
Well, that
If they don't send but one bid, then I'm good with one bid, but if they,
no, this is an instance where I am your employee, I'm calling around town to get a something. Do I just have to call one and go, or you prefer that I call at least 3? It may require me calling 10 people, but I get at least 3 bids for the cost of that item, and I go with the most reasonable, better, practical. Again, they've got one roofer's bid. Do you want them to get multiple roofers' bids? And they're doing it by telephone. They're not putting advertisements out. They're not doing it in that fashion. That would be a request for proposal, which we would advertise, gets those, but that's not what they're doing.
Okay.
As my understanding is, Tim and Logan are on the phone, just like you do with your house. I'm talking to my friend, the plumber, hey, yeah, come do it. Do you want multiple quotes, bids, whatever you want to call it? I'm just trying to anticipate problems or questions that may,
Yes.
then put another 30, okay.
I know my thing would be, I wouldn't wanna add to stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, the more we have backing us as a jury, the better.
That's-
I think that would go of educating the board and the board saying, hey, please get 3 bids.
That's fine. Again, it's been a practice. It's technically not a policy, but I didn't want us to be a month down the road.
Yeah.
Somebody saying, why didn't you, I could have got a bid for cheaper or a quote for cheaper. That's all. Just trying to anticipate.
If it's not our policy, though, I believe it'd be up to the discretion of that board, and I'm not sure what their policy is.
Well, when it comes to fire, I think Katie said earlier, you're the final decision maker on that, on those policies. And again, one of those things we've talked about that you all need to consider in the future is, do you make that a policy that your employees or your boards get multiple quotes, estimates, bids, whatever, before they buy or take on a project?
Keeps everybody honest, definitely.
I agree, but
Just
yeah.
to reiterate, we did get more than one quote.
Yeah, but that's fine, and that maybe they,
Please?
So,
You
Maybe
have
they-
more than one quote? Because we only have, I guess, the lowest one.
yeah, maybe they just sent us the lowest one, that's fine, but I didn't, again, I'm trying to avoid
yeah.
another delay.
So I don't know about the other guys up here, Mr. Tom, just to regenerate. Me, as District 5 Police Juror, whether we're over them or not on paper or legally, I want the board to make the decision. Now, if it comes down to it, that they're doing something illegal or something crazy or off the wall, yes, that's what we should do, but that's not how I foresee it going. I don't know how the other gentlemen.
what would the auditor suggest to us on that?
I think everybody agrees with that.
So our policy for Public Works, the 250, is that we can do direct contracts, and what the legislative auditor says in their statute is that it is best practice to get 3 quotes, but it's not required. So we typically it's at the discretion of your parish treasurer on whether or not she's gonna ask for 3 quotes or not.
The only other question I'd have with that would be, when you go out for a bid like that, and you're on the phone, how you giving a bid sheet, how you giving a spec sheet, how you giving an idea of what you really want? Because we're gonna end up discussing some here in a minute on change orders, because somebody didn't do their stuff up front.
And that is, and then when you have a particular, and that's a case by case. So if I'm going out and I need a 60-inch lawnmower or whatnot, I think Shane probably can explain what he needs. If you're repairing a building, it probably takes a little more detail about what that repair looks like. And again, it's a matter of context of what you're trying to acquire, what you're trying to bid or rebuild or acquire. So it kind of depends. I mean, but
I believe these contractors actually went out to the job, didn't they, Tim?
yeah, and that's fine.
How could you do it over the phone?
I didn't know, all I was provided was a single bid for each. I didn't know they had done that, but I didn't, again, want to run into another delay, just trying to anticipate. So,
One more
Just so
question.
everybody's clear, we are waiting on fire marshal plan review. We can't do anything until we get that. As soon as it gets in, I will send it to everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Sonny? Sonny?
What? Oh, are we reviewing the agenda now?
Yes.
Yeah,
You
B.
got the question on Icon?
Yeah, B. What's I,
B.
what's,
The only thing that it says in the permit, Mr. Sonny, is, they're doing some soil borings, temporary monitoring wells for groundwater investigation. Pretty much what's on the agenda.
yeah, I'm just curious as to, you know, when you start doing that stuff, it could be somebody getting sued or something. I see 2 or 3 of them. I see another one on E, that they're going to Crab Lake, and then I wanna say, G, Royal's going to Crab Lake. Like, I'm just curious as to what's all the, interest in the environmental of those areas.
Right, for on Icon, it was just determined impacts from the E&P production, so.
Yeah, I guess when they ask for the permit, they don't really have to elaborate too much, but from a government point of view, we'd like to know what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Okay, I can get maybe Kara to reach out on that. What was the other one?
Well,
Black Lake?
it was Crab Lake.
Oh, Black Bayou?
No,
No.
E and G.
So, is Ms. Kara's not here?
She's not, she's sick.
I thought she said this was some legal issue that was
Well, I'm
happening
saying
between the landowner and,
And I know on the Icon one for Crab Lake, she does have a note, they are doing a revision. No monitor wells are gonna be on that one.
Okay. All right, that's all I got on the permits. Thank you. 13, y'all wanna talk about 13?
Before we move on to 13, Miss Mary, if you don't mind, guide us in the right direction. I just want to be able to recuse myself from C due to employment.
Wait, so when it comes to vote,
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't want us to vote on them all at one time.
okay, no problem.
Right. The change
13.
order or whatever that is.
change order, on the,
Recent fee, 28,000.
North Cameron EOC.
Yeah.
Okay, so North Cameron EOC is funded through capital outlay dollars. We bid it out a few months ago. Bids came in at $3 million. The original cost estimate that was conducted by our architects was, I think, originally $2.8 million. So, and at state law, your architects and engineers, they are on a curve fee schedule. So as construction costs increase, their fee increase, and so that was the amendment to align their cost with the new construction budget. And again, this project is covered at 75% capital outlay funds, 25% you guys.
I don't know about y'all, but that's a big chunk.
28,500, yes.
I was I asked for Ms. Robbins' guidance, just to, I know we have activity on either 9 or 10. I just want to make sure which one we got activity on.
Yes, so on number 9, 408 Old Town Road, we did do some inspections this past week, and they are moving to clean up that property. So I make a recommendation that we maybe table that. She did call this morning, the property owner, and I just told her that they needed to continue their process of cleaning up that property.
Is this Jeffrey Smith?
This one's on, no, the 408 Old Town Road,
Okay,
number
which one is
9.
it? Jeffrey Smith.
I think that's her son. He got an email this morning with pictures.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that is the
Looks like
person
they-
who is cleaning
Like
that.
they have the property pretty cleaned up.
Yes.
Is
There
that the
there were still some
408 or
areas,
is that?
yeah, the 408, there were still some areas that they were just piling up the stuff on the property, but they did say that they would get that to the dump site.
Have we had somebody inspect that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we can just take that off.
You wanna take it off completely? Michael?
I mean,
Up to you, Mike.
It's clean.
Miss Robin.
it's not clean.
How y'all
I mean,
feel?
it's not clean
Let's
totally.
table it.
Why, was it inspected?
Yeah, let's table it for 60 days.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys, or,
Yeah, Ms. Mayor, for 14 and 15, did we have any objection to that?
No, sir.
None? Okay. And that was Boudreaux Road.
Just to,
Yeah, that's Boudreaux Road in, Priya.
Okay.
Same as Jim Gray Road, no comment?
No, sir.
yeah, on that 13 of the 28,000, from 13. So how far you think they're along with the project?
Sir?
The project, on number 13, North Cameron, emergency. How far along are they with the project? A quarter of the way?
Oh, yeah, about
So it's gonna change,
No, their fee only changes if there are change orders to the additional costs, like construction costs. So right now, we haven't received any change orders on the construction, so their fee is gonna be based off of the 3 million. But in the future, if they get through construction, if they have change orders that increase the construction cost, then you'll see an amendment for Porsche and May to increase their fee. Cause it's on a it's a curved fee based off of construction.
the architect.
The architect, yes. So this amendment for 13 is for the architect. The original cost estimate that was done when we went to bid was that $2.4 million.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the lowest bid that we accepted was $3 million. So that $600,000 is eligible for Porsche and Mayo Architects to ask for an amendment to get paid that additional cost. And that's state law, guys.
Where I come from, I call it a bonus.
I just made me realize I'm in the wrong line of business.
Well, yeah.
Anybody got it? I got one.
And on the, OEP Pavilion is a new service feeder.
Yeah, Clayton's here, and I'm gonna let him explain that to you guys.
What's the problem here, Mr. Clayton?
Come on, Clayton.
The original service that was on that building was a 200 amp service. They're upgrading the service to a 320 amp service. They were talking to 400 at first. We knew we didn't need that. They went ahead and did the 320, which is what we probably would need. And that's what it is. It's,
Jeff Davis?
yeah, it's through Jeff Davis, yes. The old feeder was a 200 amp service feeder. So the new feeder they're putting in is a 320 amp service. So it's just upgrading the wire size is what they're gonna be doing. That's what the charge is.
Okay, and this is coming from Jeff Davis Electric or the
Yeah.
contractor?
This is Jeff Davis Electric.
Copper wire?
It's gonna be aluminum. I mean, they don't,
I
You're
know,
not gonna have-
I know they don't.
Oh, you can do it.
I can ask, can I?
you can do it, but it's $6, about $7, $8 a foot per wire, so,
Yeah, I know.
And that's on the building across from Chesons?
yes, sir.
It says no change in contract time, but from my understanding, they're over their limit, are they? Or
This
this?
Are you talking about the,
No, they're over what we gave them.
oh yeah, they're over.
So
on
they're
that
gonna pay
end.
us before it's
But
over with.
this service wires, it's gotta be done.
Yeah, but what I was saying, it says no change in contract time. To me, it's
For this change order.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to understand.
All right, guys.
All right, I got one more. Mary, this is more for public, knowledge. Talk about 25.
Yes. So at their meeting, at the library board meeting, they asked, they're having trouble getting a quorum, so they asked to decrease to 5 members instead of 7 for a little while. They also asked that once they chose to go back to 7, what would need to be done. The only thing that needs to be done, because it's in our ordinance per the revised statute, is it would come back to a meeting to increase the library board members from 5 to 7.
And that will take no legislative action, it's just in-house.
No, sir. The statute in our ordinance tracks the statute that says the board may be from 5 to 7.
Right.
And so y'all have historically 7, so that it's a range. So you by resolution will set it now at 5. If they wanna go back to 7, we'll come back and have a resolution, because it gives you a range.
Now, last question for Mary would be, where's our libraries at?
So there's a library in Grand Chenier, there's one in Cameron, there's one in Johnson Bayou, there's one in Hackberry, and there's one in Grand Lake. There's 5.
That's fine, so we'll have a representative from each area?
As of right now, no. Y'all can change that as their terms come up for expiration, because this is one of the ones that you have to have just cause. You can't just remove or put people. So as their terms come up, I can let y'all know, okay, this one was from this area, they still have 2 more. This one doesn't have a representative.
Okay,
So-
we good with that, everybody?
Yes, sir. So, on the library board, we voted to go down to 5.
We will.
In February, we'll replace the seat
There's-
of, Miss Wendy.
You wanna, just for talking now, so
Yes.
people know what we're doing.
Yes. Eventually, there will be a representative from each community that has a library.
Like, my question was, or it was a little late to it, but the consumption on that, what would increase the feed on there? I mean, what was,
I don't know what they're moving up to, or what they had previously. They had just a standard 200 amp service. On aluminum, I mean, I don't know the distance of the run. You know, depending on your run is your sizing, and your amperage on top of it.
so there's a difference from design till now? I guess that's what I was wondering, was there an addition, something going in the building or an addition that
I
was?
don't think when it was drawn up, to be honest with you, I don't know if they knew the wire size versus what Jeff Davis had, what the old one was. I don't know what they had in idea before.
Okay.
I know there was some talk of it at the beginning of the process of a 400 amp. They knocked that down in size to a 320 after the fact. So what I'm thinking is that old wire, when Jeff Davis came out for their inspection, they said this wire's not gonna be sufficient for what y'all want to put. So they called for it.
Okay, thank you.
Probably have to upgrade the transformers also.
Yes, sir, I'm sure they will. Well, they might not, because it's right next door to the other place. They might have that in fact already, but.
Mr. Tom,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Greg, he gonna be here today?
No, by phone. He called me this morning and said he didn't realize he had a conflict on his schedule, so he gave me his cell phone. If we need to talk to him, he's available. We can put him on speakerphone if we go, yeah. We have an executive session if y'all want it for the voting meeting.
Mr. Tom, while you up here, I just had a quick question on all these change orders. Just me looking at it from, say, just me as a person. If somebody give me a contract on something, I'm gonna hold them to a contract, you know? I know some things are foreseen that, you know, you can look at and say, okay, I could understand this.
Here's, so we've been, we've, Rita, Ike, and Laura, I mean, I've been through this a lot, and I don't know that there's a project that doesn't have a change order. And here's what, how I explain it, because I've had other boards question me, hey, why wasn't it included? So in theory, and this is an example, we had a project one time where they needed a septic system. It wasn't included in the project or the bid. So after the fact, they're building and it goes, we need a septic system. So it was a change order for $10,000, whatever it was. And the board was like, well, wait a minute, they made a mistake. That should have been included. The architect, engineer didn't, made a mistake. I said, yes, they did. But had it been called for, that line item, septic system, that would have been included in the quote, meaning your lowest bid would have probably been an extra $10,000. Everybody would have upped their bid accordingly. Now, as a result of it not being in the original bid, and this is in most instances, if it's not in the original bid and you got to add it later, so there's a cost, you're going to have an additional, probably a higher cost in a change order by some percentage, and I guess it depends on whatever you're changing, because, by the time you have that change order, you're probably a year later, so just naturally inflation and costs go up. And then after the fact, there's probably is a little bit of, inflation or extra costs, so it would have been cheaper had it been included. But ultimately, most of your change orders are just somebody forgot something. They didn't know that it was a 200 amp, they needed a 3, it's just stuff that it wasn't in the original bid, so you weren't paying for it, but now you are. And you're probably paying a little extra, but had it been the original bid, the bid would have included it. It would have had a few extra dollars in that cost, so your bid would have been a little bit higher. So that's how it's costing you a little bit more because it's after the fact, but if it had been in the original design, the contractor would have included it in the bid package to increase his cost to cover that extra item in the design. So That's most cases. There may be other instances, but that's what we see most often, is that the architect or engineer just didn't know and just forgot something. Anyway,
Mr. President, if nobody else got any, questions, I know I see the Rockefeller Shoreline stuff, and I see they got some guys here. I don't know if they wanted to give an update on it for the people or not. Y'all got any updates?
Y'all got any updates, fellas? I had to put you on the spot.
Danny D. Home, fence maker. I guess there's kind of 3 projects, shoreline protection going right now. The ongoing Rockefeller project, that's the one, it's item number 26. It's a change order for additional time. That one, the parish received additional DNR funding from the state to continue that project. Just based on the timing of that change order, the contractor went off, was doing some other work, so needed some additional time to get those materials and supplies so they can get back out there and finish what's called ME35. That one, they'll start up in November, December timeframe, and should be done before the end of the year. Number 20 that you see on there is the one that I've met with the folks kind of on the west side of the ship channel over by Little Florida beaches. That's a new extension on those segmented breakwater systems. That one, we're looking for authority to advertise on that, so we'll put it out to bid. I think right now I've got like a 190-day construction timeline, so that one should be built in 2025 at some point, once we have bids and more information from the contractor on that. And then there's that's just being started up. There's some Southwest Coastal dollars from the Corps that is, we're actually contracting directly with CPRA for that one, and that'll be an extension onto ME35, the Rockefeller Shoreline one, and that'll be another lightweight core breakwater. That's Mr. Johnny and Mr. Mark. That's the one that y'all have come out to see. That'll be an extension on that, but that's through the Southwest Coastal Program. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
For the update, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
Go ahead, sir. Have a special meeting. Yeah, we can have one and we'll vote on it then. Okay. We'll try to, have to try to get everything together. Still hadn't really got everything together on the other ones. Let's see if we can get everybody on track. Yeah, we'll just make it go ahead and get everything done at one time, whatever. Watch what you ask for. All right, need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Sonny, second by Mr. Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.